How you do that there? The remix. How you do?
Yeah, what's good? What's hood?
Hey, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm trying to let the world know and let the world know again. This your boy Young Bleed Carter Young, live and in the flesh and living color, man, for the 216. What it do?
What it do? We got the legend Young Bleed. It is a pleasure to have you on the show.
I'm just doing what I do, to be continued. Don't stop with me, you know what I mean? So like I said, I appreciate y'all having me. It's a beautiful thing getting into this new year, and I got some new things to put out here. So yeah, let's get it on.
How did you actually get started in hip-hop, and what made you want to become a hip-hop artist?
It's different levels in my life, and in particular between 8 and 9 years old, I found my love for music. I come from a music background for his family, but nobody had ever incorporated it. So from gospel music to blues and, different things of that nature, African music, it was in the house, granddaddy, uncles, and, moms, and, my grandmother in particular. So music was always there, but I found my glitch around 83 when Run DMC would put out their first self-titled album. I want to mention this, rest in peace to Wicked Cricket, man, from out the H-Town area. For those that don't know who Wicked Cricket is, Wicked Cricket was one of the guys from the group Nucleus, had that song called Jam On It back in the days. That was one of my favorite joints. So between that and that Run DMC album, I found, that's what I wanted to do, of course, with a lot of other hip-hop artists, Sugar Hill Gang, everything that was being played around the house. But when I could hear myself and identify myself with rhyme, I used to write poetry about a year or two before that, 7, 8 years old. I had a poetry teacher who used to come to elementary school, and I learned how to write like haiku poems and different things like that. So, when I was still in the embryo, my mama read me Dr. Seuss. So I tell everybody, as far as music, like my man said, I am music, I am rap music. I'm born probably old as rap music is now. You know what I mean? I'm a 70s baby, so around those times, I'm born in 74, so rap was evolving around the middle 70s on into, the present day. But my whole thing was that it was always there. And like I say, from Dr. Seuss, they say the word, the letters R-A-P for rap stand for rhythm and poetry. I was a natural drummer. I've been playing the drum since I was like 4 or 5 years old, different things like that. So naturally, I was doing that indirectly, not really knowing. And by the time I reached 9, then I combined the two, and along with the rest of the elements of hip hop, scratching and mixing and, riding the bus from one side of town, freestyle, battling, talent shows, so on and so forth. So after a while, I realized that that's just what I was, and just what I am, rock.
Name of that one, do you remember?
The song you saying?
Yes. From when you were 9 years old. Because I know that's
I can't really. Yeah, I can remember like the first line of the song. Yes, I'm back again, so check out my new motive. I was on stuff like that in vocabulary at 11 years old. I can't remember the name of the song, but I remember that's the only thing I remember from that song was that half of, that one bar. But yeah, since I guess that's like 85. I've been recording since 85, writing since 83. So yeah, that's 30 plus years nowadays.
How did it come across where you and Pete got a chance to run into each other?
Pete and them being born and raised in New Orleans, and going out to California, whatever his evolution was out there, that kind of led him back to the South, or what have we. Around the time we was working on, I had a homeboy by the name of C-Loke that started a record label called C-Loke Records. I used to sell tapes on the corner a few years prior to that and different things. And me and Loke was homeboys since we was like about 11, 12 years old, since kids. So when we grew up, we was like, I had to be in my early 20s, between 20 and 22 years old, somewhere like that. Loke had a label called C-Loke Records, and we was, blasting out for us, coming out of Baton Rouge in our local section and throughout different parts of the southern region. And just through networking, him and Pete connected with each other. We was working on, we had a clicolation called the Concentration Camp, and we was doing a compilation that other than the couple of C-Loc records that he had put out years, the couple of years prior to when we developed the camp. I had a chance to do a solo song what I originally called "A Fool," which ended up being How You Do That there. And in the midst of that, I guess Pete liked that song through him and Loc just kind of hanging together, and they checking out what we was doing. Of course, we was listening to No Limit before No Limit became No Limit. The world know, and Master P solo records and different things like that. So we was fond of who he was and the access that he was growing into in the game. So it's kind of like a train stop. He stopped his train in New Orleans for a minute, connected with us, and in that sense of the word, got us out to California for his priority records and different things like that, and birthed that record into the world. But pretty much like that, we got the social media networking now, but in the streets it was flyers and posters and different things like that. You had to be at the right place at the right time. So that's pretty much how that evolved.
So would you say it's easier today with social media for the music business, or do you think that social media is kind of hurting the music business?
Okay, well, I'm going to say it like the great Rakim Allah, man. Still don't nothing move but the money. So it's like this. It got its strong points and it got its weak points as well. You know what I mean? When I say that, like I said, we had a different evolution. When you look at hip-hop from the, like I say, late 70s growing into the 80s, and the first people that got $1 million deals or went platinum from the East Coast before we even heard of the West Coast, and then eventually to the West and down South and throughout the rest of the states and cities and regions throughout the country. The way it is now, in one sense, on one hand, to me, is oversaturated. A whole lot of stuff that this is built on is not what it should be, as far as the politics and the commercialization of the music, and really trying to take hip-hop from its original evolution, is a sad point to where, let me see how I can explain it. It's like, it's like having a record store on every corner now on social media. Anybody's a star, everybody putting out records, so you really... And I remember at one time, I was the guy that used to wait for the record store owner to open up the store early in the morning. I'd save 500 pennies to go buy a new single, you know what I mean? I had turntables when I was a kid, so I'd go buy those records just to scratch the records and just to learn what those guys in New York was doing. So in that sense, I grew up to Beat Street breaking and Crush Groove, the whole evolution. I could see how this was built from a southern perspective. So I'm saying that to say this. Now it's to the fact that where anybody is a star artist over the social media site. True on one hand, but it's like I say, still on nothing move but the money. At one time, it was about getting that deal, you know what I mean? That $100,000 or better deal, you know what I mean? Nowadays, companies not really giving you that type of money. Everybody's independent, you know what I mean? You're taking what you got in your pocket to make this happen. A lot of stuff that you're seeing is not really what it is, you know what I mean? 3 minutes of video. You know what I mean? Here today, gone tomorrow. Like Q say that, hell, I don't know if we could, speak outlandish more rather on here, so I'm going to say it in a different way. They'll have a new guy next year. You know what I'm saying? So I remember at a time, those guys back in the 80s into the 90s looked like they had a 10-year reign before you realize he only really made 2-3 albums. Now it's like you got your favorite artist in January, February is somebody else. So, the end justifies the mean, more or less. It's like I use this example. When Star 69 came out, for a little while, okay, that's cool, we got Star 69. Then they created Star 67. You know what I mean? That kind of outlawed the Star 69 as well as a VHS or a DVD. Now you got Blu-ray. It's always something new and different that kind of outcast the old, you know what I mean? Out with the old and into the new. But I always say this, without no old, there is no new. If you don't know where you come from and know where you at, you don't know where to go and take the game. So that's my thing I always try to be the bridge between the young and the old in this game. Young bleed, call it young. My young heart bleed out for this new generation, for how I know it was built and what they think it is. You know what I mean? It's so saturated and watered down now that it's on the verge of kind of losing rap and hip-hop. We don't have BET like I used to come home from school and see Rap City, Yo MTV Raps on Saturdays.
Right.
So it's out of sight, out of mind. If the internet is like your own personal TV channel. If you can get enough viewers and people to follow you, then they keyed in to what's going on. But he again outlawing the rest of the world. We don't know who has a new record. I got some of my best friends, some of the well-known rappers, internationally as well as underground and independently coming up. But I don't know when they drop a record if I'm not keyed into what they're doing on the social sites versus the time I could come home after school and just cut on Rap City and they're going to roll you for 30 minutes to an hour, everything that's brand new. So, like I say, it's kind of give and take,
Right. So it's kind of, you feel like, more like it's kind of hurting hip-hop, the social media.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I feel like this personally, for the way, us guys and from like I said, the true bricks of hip-hop that come out the streets. So to the average street guy, it was, one or two ways, Music was like what the blues men called penance from heaven, you know what I mean? The way that was a way to kind of beat the Constitution, beat the dope game, and what have we, and still kind of walk away with your life. But, coming from the streets is, the penitentiary or the graveyard, and the graveyard after the penitentiary. So now it's like kind of to slow your roll, they're not giving you that type of money, you know what I mean? And through these social sites, it's kind of hit and miss. You got to do so much work to even build up the few pennies that you get, you know what I mean, when you're talking publishing and what, people really getting paid off of these records versus everybody that do a little quick video and costume jewelry and the Rolex truck pulling up at the end. A lot of people don't know that side of the game. So, I mean, believe it or not, none of what you hear and half of what you see, it's a true statement. So I feel like, you got to do what you got to do regardless. But at the end of the day, it's just too much to where the true artist is not really getting their full potential. And damn sure they just do. They even make a living off of this, especially if you hadn't come up. I'm one of the lucky ones. I just got in that door before 2000, you know what I mean? But I put in so much work for years before I was publicly known on a national, international scale. So for anybody coming up now, it's a lot of artists that I hear in the underground. That's my favorites that I try to do extra records with to make sure they heard or seen, because I'm fans to their music. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's a lot of picks and chooses, you know what I mean? A lot of politics in the game, and it's not by popular demand no more, you know what I mean? So that type of thing, I feel, get a whole music industry as a whole, let alone rap music being like the bottom of the barrel, you know what I mean? Our evolution of how what we have to do to break our records. It's not like R&B, it's not like gospel. Blues and jazz may be the least selling of the music nowadays, but we didn't just kind of substitute that same point. It's all but outlawed. Here again, based on what the powers that be want this to be, you know what I mean? So that's the difference between the mainstream and the underground. That's been a constant struggle since the beginning of music evolution, or music business history. I'm going to say it like that. Yeah.
Based on the music today versus the music you guys built the foundation for, what do you feel about that? And do you feel that the better music may be in the underground than mainstream, or you feel it's more a give and take?
Well, I feel like most of the mainstream, the majority of it is just that. It's mainstream. It's in the water. It's watered down when you got the solidarity of what's underground. When you're dealing with poverty and struggle and what's really going on in day-to-day living, mindless money. Money ain't going to save your life. If you have a heart attack, you could be the richest person in the world. That ain't going to stop you. So it's beyond the money. It's the love for music and the God blessing that he gave us to be able to utilize freedom of speech to do what, happy late birthday to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, to pick up that torch, you know what I mean, and carry it on is the whole thing. We just learned how to do it over beats, but no different than the Black Panthers and anybody else that comes from that same community neighborhood struggle that first and foremost, us as black folks have to overcome. And that's like I say, that's the pennies from heaven that God gave us a way out. And I feel like it's being used and abused, you know what I mean, for what about rap music, and try to ban from the 2 Live crew to NWA to whoever else. Now you got guys wearing dresses and lipstick and lace and what's going on? I mean, how can you be a respectable person, a family, a wife or a father, or single mother or single father and raise your kids with this on the cartoons and this is in the music and they pumping it. You see what I'm saying? We was teaching something, you know, when you talking KRS-One, self-destruction, or we all in the same gang on the East Coast. As gangsters that was, they gave you a story and gave you, you know, the beginning and the ends and the cause and effect, and kids don't do this. We was more the teachers. You see what I'm saying? After Martin and Malcolm, we don't have no more leaders. You know what I mean? This Obama last year, before it's our whole evolution, and who we look up to, but the gangs and everything, there's some kind of power structure. So naturally, if you're trying to save the kids and you don't feed them no water, you got to feed them something solid. So I feel like, you know, it's by design, and I'm not with that portion of it. You know what I mean? So that's my whole thing with the game. The people they pushing to the forefront is not even solid. Half of these guys not even writing their material. Back in the days when you listen to a Daddy Kane record, a Rakim record, how many features they had on it? None. Because he had to prove that, and he had to rap over beats without having instruments. His voice was the instrument. So now, you know, you got all this computer technology, which is cool. You know, you take something old and combine that with the new. I'm not trying to outlaw either side, but I'm saying come together, like the Beatles say, you know what I mean? Right now, over me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, yeah, so in that sense of the word, keeping music, man, you know, minus the politics. Once you love the music, it's going to love you back. You can get so oversaturated that you lose yourself and you can't crawl back. But for those that's solid, from when you at the bottom of something, you can see everything up. When you at the, don't nothing, a guy told me this one time, nothing start at the top and go to the bottom but a hole in the ground, man. But if you coming from under that hole in the ground, then you see just like the foundation of a house. You know what I mean? People don't see you got to cut the woods down, level the level the land, then lay the concrete and build it up brick by brick. And that's what I respect about the underground, because it's built out of New York project bricks minus Jamaica before then. You know, we took in America and flipped it. So, you know, music is a universal language that we all agree and speak on, you know what I mean, speak of and speak for that matter. But I feel like it's missing that, because you're just grabbing anybody and pushing them to the focal front. And by the time you do the history, it's kind of like eating fake food, you know what I mean? It don't fill me up. It's not satisfying to my soul. So I can't, if I don't believe in this, it's like a good book or a movie. I'm not going to pay my money for it. It don't do nothing for me. It's not real. I'm a real person. I live a real life, and I can look through this and see that it's not what it's supposed to be. Then I can't take to that. And I can't see how the world take to it and feed it to the kids and, you know, point the finger at the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, basically that, yeah.
Now, do you think the fans may have something to do with that? Because just think about it. You hear people saying all the time, oh, it's the mainstream, it's the people that's pushing the music, that's doing this. But if nobody was listening to it, one thing I think about, like I've been promoting music. I started out with battle rappers music and then, you know, put it in underground and mainstream. One thing I know, whenever I promote music that's positive, or when I think about like my positive interviews, nobody really click on that when I have a positive artist. But I notice if I post something about, oh, this person doing this, some negative, or this person talking about this in their music, people would quickly click on that.
Right.
So would you say the fans, it may really be an issue with the fans?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like in the politician. I mean, we vote these guys in, you know what I mean? And then that next year, he's a sucker, he's whoop, 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 I found out this, but you voted him in. You see what I'm saying? You allowed him to come in your door. So, I mean, you can't blame nobody but yourself at the end of the day. You know what I mean? You make all, you know, whoever rich, you know, I ain't hating in no situation. And you know, any way you put that, it ain't about that. But it's, I mean, you got to, you know, do the research and know what you really going. I mean, you don't want to buy a lemon car, so make sure the motor run under the hood before you purchase it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I feel like it's that. One of my OG cousins always say this, you know what I mean? He do seminars and stuff, you know what I mean, with the Minister Farrakhan and whoever around the world. And he really come from some hardship where we from by the name of Silky Slim. For those that may know it, Silky Slim, man, he runs like the Stop the Killing campaign where we from in Baton Rouge and throughout the world. But he always say this at his seminars. He say, you know, you want to know what's wrong with the youth? It's those first three letters. Y-O-U. You see what I'm saying? If the parents is not paying attention to the kids, and the kids have a tendency to sneak out in the back room, out the window, around the corner, I was one of those kind of kids. So I knew when Mama wasn't paying attention, she couldn't watch everything. But, you know, some of that, you know, I got the good morals, and I also got that lower to the street morals as well. You know what I mean? So in one sense, I survived a whole lot of things that a lot of people is not able to say at this or even be here for that matter. You know what I mean? I'm from the home of Lit Boosie. You know, that's my little cousin. You know what I mean? We come out the same camp, same hood, same block, to give anybody, as far as the young generation that's listening, not so up on me, that same evolution. That's what's going on in my city today. You know what I mean? So,
I didn't
you know,
you and Lit Boosie are kin to each other?
Yeah, we family, yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the first one to say.
Were.
I'm gonna tell you something else you don't know. I'm the first one to say Baton Rouge on the record. You know what I mean? On my record with P and them. Everybody else from New Orleans, but me and Loke, and, you know, a few other guys that started to spring out of Baton Rouge. I'm really the founder of the concentration camp. I started the very camp that'll later give birth to Boosie and Max Manelli and a whole lot of guys that was under that umbrella. Rest in peace, Grawl Nitty, my brother Lucky Knuckles, Lee Time. You know, we was had a nice little situation from Louisiana on through Mississippi, Alabama, you know what I mean, and surrounding areas. Other guys that we work with independently for years that I've been working with personally, you know what I mean. I lived in several states, so I know this because I do the groundwork myself. So, but just to give everybody a glimpse of where I'm coming from that's not so familiar with me, you know, that's more up on Boosie nowadays than knowing my past and the history of where he came from. South Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Garfield Street, the G Block. So we off the same square, right down the street, yeah.
I did not know that. I knew you were affiliated, but I just didn't know that you guys were like that close to where you're blood related. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So is there a chance, like, let me ask you a question. So is there a reason why you and Boosie, since you and Boosie are related to each other, is there a reason why you guys don't make too many records with each other?
The only record we had, I did another unreleased record with Boosie and the guys at Trio. You know what I mean? I'm good and cool with Mel and Turk. We all know each other. But would it be in these independent situations, everybody has their own situation. You see what I'm saying? But me and the artist that love each other definitely want to do something. But if that's not the direction of the company that he's signed to and whatever his dealings may be, then we may can't connect on a record level. I know a lot of guys, Pimp C, you know, I work with Sibo, Big Mike, a lot of things some people know and a lot of people don't know. And throughout the world, you know what I mean? Unreleased records and for other reasons they hadn't come out, and what records do come out. But the one record that the world know, as far as me and Boosie being on, is I Smoke, I Drink. Rest in peace to my guy, Mr. Magic, formerly of True and No Limit Records, you know what I mean? Which was Magic Record that we actually intended on putting Soulja Slim on the third verse. But the night we finished that record, as God is my witness, I met Slim one day in my life, and we talked about doing records. When we decided to put Slim on that record, it was about 4, 5 in the morning. We come out the studio, and Magic said, I know who I'm going to put on the third verse. You know, I was like, who you going to, you know, he said, Slim. I said, oh, man, that's the perfect situation. I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow, catch Slim, and put him on the record. When he called me that next day, and it was that morning already. So a few hours later, maybe afternoon or something like that, he called me and said, Slim dead. He was murdered within those hours. Yeah.
The next day?
So that very day. Like I said, if I'm coming out the studio 4 or 5 that morning before the sun come up, I went home and went to sleep. When I woke up, that's what I woke up to. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was my guy, Slim. You know, we loved each other from afar. Got a chance to meet each other one night in the studio session I was working. I actually just got the phone with Moby Dick from No Limit, and Moby introduced us. I always tell that story about me and Moby. Made sure I knew everybody I needed to know, even when Snoop come down to No Limit and was in Baton Rouge for a while. Actually, we all was together that particular day. C-Murder, everybody that's, you know what I mean? If I go into all that, but you know, that's a long track record. Mac, everybody, those guys are doing life in the penitentiary. Slim not here no more. Pimp C not here no more. So far as just our southern section, just a whole nother struggle. You know what I mean? When you go back to Martin Luther King and they talking Alabama. I just found out recently. I never knew this, and of course, she'll be older than me in this day and time. But everybody know about those church bombings in Alabama they was having in Montgomery. And more familiar, the story of the 4 little girls that was blew up in the church. My daddy just told me, one of those girls was my cousin. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know her in life. That was in the 50s. But that's, that whole southern region. And, and throughout the country and throughout the world, you'll find you kin to people that you would have never known you was kin to. But in particular in the South, yeah, it's a thick bloodline. Yeah. Yeah,
so You got a chance. You got a chance to work with Pimp C too. What was that experience like? Because you got a chance to work with him before he passed away.
Yeah, I get a world of this, and I mentioned this a few times. Me and Pimp had plans on I was talking about actually ending up and signing with UGK Records or Woodville Records for his passing. But I knew Pimp before he went into the pen, and I know Bond as well. But me and Pimp Mo kept up a relationship where he'll call me sometime and just see how I was doing, and we'll talk about things. Give me so much game from Louisiana, where I actually met Pimp in Atlanta. When we met in the flesh, we had talked on the phone, me, him, and rest in peace to our mama will connect us and different things, and along with Pimp and Ken out of Milwaukee. So from Atlanta to Louisiana to Texas to Milwaukee, we done been in different places together, just conspiring on doing future things. And, untimely, he wasn't, I don't think, home a year, maybe 6 or 7 months before he passed away. But me, him, and Sebo was working together in Texas and different things like that. But, a few records that we started for Pimp didn't get a chance to finish those records. But what I let him know before he passed away, and what I've mentioned in several interviews, is the one jewel I got from Pimp C was, and it was ironic how it happened. I had to finish up a few songs for my album, turn it into Master P, as well as him taking it into Priority Records. But the night before he did that, I had to finish about 3 songs. One of them was a song called Bring the Noise that I liked. It had an open third verse with PM Mystical on it. So he gave me that joint for my album, and, I filled it up. Everybody loved that record, a lot of people's favorite record. But I'm saying that to say this, I didn't find out at the time, a little while after that Pimp C actually produced that record. So that's the only record you ever had in my life that consists of me and Pimp C, and I allowed Pimp to know that. I think that was for either 504 Boys record or a Mystical record that I ended up with, and they all give me that record. So, yeah, that's the only thing I have with Pimp. I give Pimp a record before he passed away, and he never got a chance to, of course, record it for me. So we was just finna get restarted once he come home, you know what I mean?
Right. I have a question I'm dying to know, because I couldn't find any information on it.
Yeah.
What happened with you in Strange Music? Because when I listened to that Preserve album, that's like one of the most left-on albums. That album is really dope.
Right, depending on where you coming from. Go ahead, Mom.
It's one of your better ones, because I heard Chucky, the one with Chucky work clothes, and that one is pretty dope too. But Preserve, that one was before that, and that one is I really like that one. That one, I just was wondering what happened with you in Strange Music.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that first and foremost, but I enlighten you to some of what took place. The thing with me and Strange, it's not no bad blood, much love for Tech Trav, and of course Dave Weiner. My whole situation with Strange was the guy Dave Weiner, the vice president over there, was an A&R at Priority when P got me the deal in 97 in Priority. So me and Dave had been friends since 97 on up into 2010 and 11 once I, got over to Strange. He had his ins and out with the music industry. I did too, and it kind of separated us in time. But when we came back together, on behalf of my man Chauncey Clyde out the Kansas City area, I was working on a record out there, and he had a chance. He was trying to shop some records to Strange and ran across Dave, and Dave heard me on the record and was like, "Where's Bleed?" And he reconnected us. So I happened to be between contracts and different things like that at the time. So Dave introduced me to Strange and welcomed me over there, and of course got me up close and personal with Trav and Tech. But the thing was this: if you know Tech Nine's brand of music, it's like in the middle lane. It's pure genius. You know, I take nothing from him, but he found the lane that worked for him. That's like between like the thin line between BET and MTV, which is like what they call the juggalo audience, so that juggalo crowd with ICP and all that type of thing, which is a beautiful thing. It reminds me of like the Flower Days in the '60s and the Charles Manson time, different things like that. But that kind of section of people grasp to tech, and you know he's a king, a god king in that world, love him to death. But my thing was coming into that from what I had came from. I was the first and I believe only artist from the South to ever be over there. So I don't really think they knew how to market me and you know, direct me in that sense, and really was trying to bring me into that world. And the people was taking to me slowly but surely, but it was a little different. That's why I said it depends on from what perspective you coming from. With everybody kind of rapping that fast, kind of tongue twister rap, I could do that. I do that, you know, pretty much every album, at least a song or so, just to display it as far as just rap skill. But as far as that whole evolution of music, they audience was keen to something else. So I was brand new to them, so it was a slow kind of process to where I was trying to go and channel and go back to my, you know, original fan base, and then, of course, into that world and combine the two. I don't think they really knew how to do that as a whole, you know what I mean, not having the experience and the time frame that I had rooted in the South first, you know what I mean? And when you talking the South, not just Louisiana, Texas, you talking 10 states, so that's a lot of markets. So my market just really wasn't Tech's market, you know what I mean? Well, we may know of Tech, you get farther down Louisiana, they don't know that Tech exists. They're going to talk about Tech 9 from UNLV and Cash Money in the beginning. You know what I mean? So everywhere you go, every city and state have their own kind of hip-hop evolution, where the world may be Jay-Z crazy. You can come to some place like Baton Rouge and you might not hear Jay-Z in the club. You're going to hear Boosie, you're going to hear Kevin Gates, you're going to hear Rest in Peace, the Little Nussy, Fox, you know what I mean? And all them kind of guys. Everybody has their own thing. And I recognize that from going club to club. Records that I know the world, y'all not listening to that now because they got their own locals and all that. And it's fire music, you know what I mean? A lot of artists I want to say, hey, or I connect with and say, hey, I'm pushing this line. Come in with me, man. You know, I can't promise you nothing, but, hey, I want to make sure you heard. So I'm going to do what I can to help you get there. Just remember me in time, you know what I mean? So that type of thing. But I you know, I honestly know that, you know, it wasn't no bad blood. It's just, you know, in the time frame that I went to Strange and put out that record, which I believe is one of my better records. It's a national classic record, back to back. I actually did a book for that record too. A lot of people's not up on, called The Making of Preserve, that I had a chance to work with. Yeah, I had a chance to work with Soren Baker. And me and Soren was cool probably as long as I know Dave once I come into Pro Art in '97. But for those that don't know who Soren Baker is the guy that well, actually he was an editor for the Source magazine for about 15, 16 years or so at this time when you know, in 2010, 2011. So I always had an idea to do a book. I didn't know how to do it. So he sat down with me and we kind of did a audio recording, and we just took out what we wanted to add to the book. He put it together for me, and we, you know, kind of slightly promoted that along with it. So like I said, a lot of it, without that coming with the total package, a lot of people didn't know about that book. But it's available still to this day on Amazon.com for book readers out there. But Soren did like different issues. He had a series called I'm the White Guy, where him and Jay-Z, I want to say, did the first type of book that we did, where he kind of went in with the artists. Jay-Z to Tech 9 to the Game, Glass and Malone. I want to say I was the fifth rapper that he ever did a book on. So with all that kind of pub and pushing, with it not all being mustered in the right direction, a lot of people missed a whole lot of key elements where that record was concerned and what we was trying to do. So at the end of the day, you know, I just kind of walked away from the table. And, you know, keeping in mind, when I went to Strange, I didn't go to Strange to sign as an artist, which I would have loved to do. But we had a co-op situation where I started my label at the time. I started a label called Trapdoor Entertainment. You know what I mean? And we merged together for Strange Lane, a subsidiary label, which kind of sabotaged before my record was even finished. So I was kind of stuck in the middle. Ended up on tour with them for about 2.5 months. Had a nice run across the country. And when it came time to set everything in stone, and it, you know, different things kind of went wishy-washy. So I kind of walked away from that situation and just came back full throttle independent.